How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. We're in Chapter 6, Tsumihoroboshi. Tsumihoroboshi. Don't know what that means, but I'm sure someone will be able to tell me. I basically don't know anything about this chapter. Like, all of them, I'm going into these relatively blind, except for the fact that, when I go to click on the loading screen, it has Keiichi prominent. So are we going back to his point of view somehow? It'll be interesting to see what that means. Or it could actually be following another character storyline. Because, think about chapter 1, the character that was displayed was Rena, even though it was from Keiichi's point of view. That's how all of them went until chapter 5. Chapter 5. I don't know. Okay, regardless of that, the patterns change, so not sure what to expect from here, but we'll get to it. I'm excited to give it a shot. I guess we'll just jump right into it and see maybe what we learn, maybe get some ideas on the perspective. I don't anticipate this being a too terribly long of an episode, just because of circumstances. Hard to explain. I don't think you want to hear about it anyway, so let's get started, shall we? All right. Okay, let's go. The junkyard. Tsumihoroboshi, first fall. Tsumihoroboshi, the first fall. Atonement chapter. Oh, interesting. Maybe this from Keiichi's perspective. How is your reasoning towards the truth coming along? The next tragedy is ready for you. Enjoy. This is a humorous story with a tragic struggle at the end. The difficulty is 0. You can just enjoy the clowns milling about. What does that even mean? The Atonement chapter, first fall? Are we maybe going to replay Keiichi's adventure, maybe from the first chapter, where he isn't super crazy? Or, like he said, it's you just enjoy the clowns milling about. Could that just be nobody's going to become evil in this one somehow? I don't know. We'll have to see. But a humorous story. Bold claim. Let's see what you got for us. Oh, that's horrifying. That's way worse. This arc includes choices that were added in the console version. These choices result in dialogue changes and can lead to bad ends. Do you want to see these choices? Let's do I've done this before. I keep choosing, typically it's between these two. Prompt additional choices in the console version or prompt them with the highlighted corrected answer. But then let's just go into it with a knowing that it's like a deviant answer or not. But it's interesting because last episode was a great example of how they added another route, but it would have kind of derailed the feeling of things as they were going. And I appreciate that somebody told me to not go down that route initially. So I think we'll just do this one again because even if it's not, if it doesn't really matter, I don't mind stumbling into bad ends occasionally. But if it does matter, I'm hoping somebody will let me know. But even then, it's not like it'll be that big of a deal. But it was nice to kind of be able to explore both of them. So we'll do that. The first time, I would try harder to avoid the inevitable tragedy. The second time, I would be disgusted with the inevitable tragedy. The third time, my disgust would turn into anguish. The seventh time, I'd be laughing. This is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to actual persons or organizations is entirely coincidental. It's almost talking like Keiichi's going to come into the story with knowledge of what happened in the other ones. That'd be really wild. It'd be actually very Muv-Love of the story to do something like that. The chorus of the Higurashi replaced that of cicadas. Their cries came from a distance, echoing loudly, then fading away. They sounded so weak and fragile. Rena's voice was just like the cries of the Higurashi. She'd say something, but the words would quickly fade away. She sounded so fragile, it made me worry she might vanish into thin air along with her words. But nobody's pressuring her to continue. Mion dusted off the hood of an abandoned car and sat down on it as if to show how relaxed she was. She actually did look very relaxed, as if she came here to enjoy the cool breeze of the evening or something. Satoko followed Mion's example and sat down as well. Didn't look nearly as relaxed, however. I thought about following suit, but it felt rude to look away from Rena even for a short time it would take to look in a place to sit down, so I decided to remain standing. Rika-chan didn't sit down either. But she wasn't looking at Rena. Everybody else was looking at Rena. But Rika-chan was looking at the red sky. Rika-chan's expression was hard to describe. She looked pale and blank at the same time, as if all her emotions were gone. Rena wore the same kind of expression. She kept trying to say something, but it seemed like the words were stuck in her throat. She noticed Rika-chan was looking at the sky, so she decided to look that way as well. Mion did the same. So did I. Satoko looked that way too. And with that, there was silence. It was like we were in a concert hall filled with the chorus of Higurashi and a concert hall of the highest roof of the world. A refreshingly cool breeze tickled our sweaty bodies. I could almost make myself believe we came here to enjoy the breeze and the sunset. I could only wish that was what we came here for. The shadows of the birds flying across the sky soured the feeling of our quiet concert. They reminded us that time hadn't stopped. Nobody wanted to pressure Rena. We didn't want time to pressure her either. We wanted to keep the cool red sky as long as we could so Rena could calm down and talk. Right then, I heard a sound, and it brought us all back to reality. The hood Mion was sitting on had made a noise when she moved to cross her legs. I don't know whether Mion made the noise on purpose or not, but it reminded us that time had been passing by. The noise took our attention away from the sky and back to the ground. Such a tasteless noise seemed to have urged Rena to speak. So what's happening? The atmosphere is already really heavy. Rena heaved a small sigh, nodded as if she understood something, and looked up at us like she always did.
話す前に一個だけ言いたいことがあるの。
I want to check and make sure to see the volume levels real quick. No, they look okay. Maybe I'll crank up the voices a bit more so that but it looks like it almost feels like the mod is remembering my settings between the games. So anyway, she was probably saying it to everybody, but since I'm standing in the middle with her looking at me, I nodded to her to represent our argument.
レナは正しい努力をしたと思ってる。
What did you do? Her voice wasn't hoarse anymore. She sounded like she always did.
人って幸せになるためにどれだけの努力が許されるのかな。
Okay. Sounded like a question, but nobody answered.
だからね、私みーちゃんの部活って好きなの。
Okay.
ほら、優勝のためには何でもしようって考え方、そういうのって素敵だと思う。
Do whatever it takes to win, huh? It's very Sith attitude. I think I said that way back in the day.
だって世の中が綺麗事で縛られてて、やっていい努力がわずかだけに決められていたら、幸せじゃない人たちはますます幸せを勝ち取れなくなっちゃうじゃない？不幸ってね、連鎖するものだと思うの。
Okay.
一度続き始めるとなかなか抜け出せない。そこから抜け出すには運とか人の助けとか、そういう他力本願なものだけじゃ到底足りない。
Alright, so she said earlier, right? I think I did the right thing. Could this be simply us, having learned what she did at her previous school? Could that be what we've learned? I don't know.
自分でももっともっと努力しないといけないと思うの。それも本当に精一杯。そこまでしてやっとつかめるのが幸せってものじゃないかなって。
Okay. Rena stopped talking, looked up, heaved a sigh, and opened her mouth again.
でもだからってみんなにもそれを受け入れてもらおうなんて甘えるつもりだって。
I clicked early.
本当に汚らしいもの。
What did you do?
みんなだってついさっき呆然としたでしょ。
What war crime have you committed?
それはつまりそういうことだよね。
I'd never seen her smile so self-derisively like this. That smile looked unbelievably painful. I could really feel how huge the distance between us was. There's nothing physically there, but I felt like as she was talking to us through iron bars or a chain link fence. That's how great the distance between us was.
でもそれでもいいよ。
I actually like that
仕方ない
analogy.
もんね。
The analogy of having bars or a fence between us being distance is makes sense because it's an analogy because you can be right on the other side of bars or a fence, but you have to you have to go around them. You can't go through them to get to each other. So it's like you could be standing next to each other, but the distance you have to travel could be massive or impassable. And so, like, despite the fact that you're next to each other, you also are impossibly far away. So that's a great analogy.
そういう風にできてる世の中だもん。多分、私が逆の立場でいられたなら、同じように唖然として、無責任で無慈悲な同情を浮かべていたに違いないもの。
Seriously, what'd you do, drown puppies? She probably said that to hit back at us. We were just putting on a mask of sympathy, enjoying the spectacle of a clown on a stage. That's why she said that. She probably expected us to say something in return, but none of us knew what to say. Rena looked disappointed for a moment, then turned and clambered on top of an abandoned car. Oh. Then she spread her arms and gave a little twirl, letting her skirt blow up before she grabbed both ends and gave us a graceful curtsy. This feels ominous. Like, it's like the bow before she, like, does something terrible. Well, like, it could be like it's the end of a performance, I guess. Maybe that's the idea, is that maybe this is where the act drops. I've always said from the first chapter, it's so interesting because we're so far away from my first experience with the first chapter. I've always lived in this kind of like horror awe of Rena. Maybe this chapter we're going to see a bit more about her. And is that so? Is she about to pull the mask off and show us true Rena? The one that always seemed to be with the crazy eyes, but maybe she's going to show us, you know, like, what's the saying from Avengers? Like, that's my secret. I've always angry. Rena's secret, she's always been crazy.
じゃあ、始めるよ。竜宮レナの一世一代の頑張り物語を。
Is this going to be, so maybe this is her past. Maybe that's what this is going to be. There was no curtain or spotlight. She was atop an abandoned car amidst a trash pile, stage specially made for her. We tried not to miss a word of what she was about to say. We believed that it was the least we could do not to hurt her feelings. Chapter 6. Yeah, okay, maybe that's what this is really going to be about. It's going to be about Rena's history. That'll be interesting, if that's true. Let's say it's a winter month like December right now. What would you do if all of a sudden you had a week of hot and humid days with crying cicadas? Would you still wear your coat and scarf? Absolutely not, right? Even though it's still June, it's already summer to us since we've been having hot days for so long. It's totally okay to do this kind of club activity in June. It's kind of weird because it actually is June right now. At my school, everybody usually does what they want for PE class, but today would be an exception. All my classmates are gathered in the schoolyard. Mion looked over everybody gathered there, then spoke up loudly.
さてみんな、今日の趣旨はよくわかってるね。
You real Mion or you Shion? I hate that I can't even, I have to question every time now. But this is before Watanagashi probably, so that means you probably are Mion. Why? Why have you had to ruin this for me? Gosh darn it. Ow, that was loud. They all raised their water guns in their hands. Ooh, this does sound fun. It's okay to use water guns in June because it's so hot and humid. All my classmates are joining in, and so it's going to be a big water gun battle. I'm so excited.
さすがクラス全員で部活だとなんだか盛り上がりますわね。そうだね。全員で表ではしゃぐのってなんだか楽しそうかな。みんなは楽しいですが、僕たちは例によって負けられないのです。
How do you win or lose in a water gun fight?
ま、そういうこったな。およそ勝負と名のつく以上、
Like seriously
俺
though,
たち部活メンバーは常にリスクを背負ってるからな。
it's not like you're going to be able to track hits of the water gun fight, really.
まあそういうこと。部活メンバー諸君は部活に負けたりしちゃうと大変なペナルティーが待ってるからね。
Okay, members plural. So it means multiple people might get punished this time, huh? Man, it's been a while since we've just done goofy games because the last chapter with Shion, we didn't do the goofy games. Like, I almost missed this stuff.
せいぜいしっかり戦うこと。
よしよし、生徒諸君、武器点検は十分か。弾倉は満タンか。
任せてくださいよ、前原さん。銃撃戦は僕たちの最も得意とするところですからね。
Good man.
富田たちはよく水鉄砲で遊んでますから、かなり強敵かもなのですよ。
Okumura, what are you up to?
今日の僕たちは少し違います。
Tobata-kun and Okumura-kun smiled confidently, holding their guns in a practiced manner. Their skills must give them confidence to even look different.
ミオンは言うに及ばず、サトコもリカちゃんもかなり強敵になりそうだぜ。
Rika, because she's probably going to be able to get away with like just being imperceived as a threat until it's too late.
レナはどうだ？ちょこまか動いて、いいの一番にやられないように頑張れよ。そういえば、最近のレナは罰ゲーム常連だな。
Oh, that's surprising.
最近不得意なゲームが多かったから。でもケイチ君も最近私と同じで罰ゲームが多いと思うかな。
It's like, it's not just me.
罰ゲームの格好のまま帰宅して、さあ脱ごうとしたところでお袋に見つかった俺の哀愁などわかるものか。
I mean, there's worse things, but especially for a kid, that's rough.
むが
私だって先週のはひどいよ。普通の女の子ならお嫁に行けなくなっちゃうよ。
What on earth did you have to do? Satoko laughed at us loudly while we were shuddering at the memory of our cruel punishments we suffered in the past.
覇気や運気にも偏りというのがございましてよ。その意味から言えば、ここしばらくのレナさんやケイチさんはいわゆる負け組というやつでございますわね。
Ow!
確かに負け癖ってやつはあるね。闘士ってやつは負けが続くとくじけてくる。絶対勝てるという信念が砕けると、全く同じことをやっても裏目裏目に出るもんだからね。
てめえら
Them's fighting words.
たまたま俺とレナがちょいと罰ゲームを哀れに思って引き受けてやってたのを感謝もせずにその言い草か。
Keiichi, there's no way no one's gonna actually believe that.
あら、そうでしたの？それは感謝の気持ちが足りず申し訳ないことでございましたよ。
I'd be like, well then you won't mind laying down, just letting me take you out right away then.
うわー、サトコってめえ、そのセリフは俺の怒りに火をつけたぜ。後悔させてやる。
その意気だよ、ケイちゃん。まあせいぜいあがいておじさんを楽しませてちょうだいよね。レンナも頑張って。あうあう言ってる間にクラスで一番最初に脱落したらさすがに恥ずかしいからね。
Maybe that's how it is. It's like the last person, like the first, like maybe the punishment goes to the first person who gets benched, or maybe out of our group, the last person to get hit with water is the winner. Because that is trackable. Because as soon as you got water stain on you, you can still play, but you're out of the actual racing.
でもその可能性も高いかな。
I love that laugh. It's like a little witch laugh.
一番最初に脱落するのがレナさんだと思いましてよ。どんな目に遭うか今からお覚悟なさいませ
Well,
な。
I mean, if you all focus fire on her, maybe.
ひどいよ。みーちゃんもさとこちゃんも。レナもケイイチもファイトですよ。
Mion and Satoko laughed at us as loud as they could, then moved on to tease their next target. Left alone, all I could do was stomp on the floor in anger.
くそー、絶対負けねえ。あそこまで言われたら負けられねえぜ。
そうだね。あそこまで言われると悔しいよね。
Maybe we team up, huh?
っていうか悔しいどころじゃねえぞ。プライドの問題だぞ。くそ。
みーちゃんの言うように負け癖ってやっぱりあるかもしれないよね。
Oh, that explains a lot about my life.
だから今日は絶対に勝ってみんなを見返してやろう。
Rena's eyes look different. She's usually a funny and weird person, but I know she has determination to do what she needs to. When Rena looks like this, she can be a tough opponent.
今日は私も部活の規則にのっとり手加減なしでいく。
おお、なんだかかっこいいこと言うじゃねえの。まるで普段の自分はわざと手を抜いているって言わんばかりだぜ。
Yeah. Rena smiled. Or maybe you could have called it a wicked grin. She was serious. She was serious about what she said. I could tell that from her expression alone. Alright, Rena, let's see what you got. Among all the club members, Rena is usually the most sensible one. The rule of our club is that we can do anything in order to win, but she's the only one who has a moral qualms about doing it. That's why we rarely have a hard time against her, especially when she snaps. It's rare to hear her say that she won't go in easy.
ちっくしょう。そんな笑い方されたら俺も超本気で行くしかねえじゃねえかよ。
I think Rena and I are kind of similar in that regard, because like I don't mind playing and trying to win, but I'm also just not as competitive as other people, and it means that I'm like quite content to just be like, chuck it up as a loss. But like, I think that does mean that I just don't push as hard or try as hard, and that probably is a bad detriment to myself.
いつも本気で戦うのが部活だけど、それでもやっぱりそれ以上に本気じゃないといけない時ってあるよね。今日は多分それだね。
だな。
Let's do it. We pound our fists together. Usually when we really don't want to lose a game, one asks the other to work together, but Rena didn't ask that this time, which meant that she was going to try to defeat everybody by herself. No, not try. She was going to do it by herself. Rena looked really cool in that moment, but I wasn't scared. If she was seriously going to do it, I'd have to be serious and do it too. This conversation is sounding weirder and weirder. My fighting spirit's been dented as many losses, but it's begun to burn hot once more.
ケイチ君もなかなかいい顔してるね。
Alright.
怖いな。全員と一人で戦っても勝てるつもりでいる顔だね。
Yeah, you yourself.
レナだってそのつもりだろう。
じゃあぶつかるのは最後だね。
Okay, so we're not working together, but we're agreeing to not take each other out immediately, but to have a face-off at the end.
互いにクラス全員を全滅させたら最後にはそうなるな。
So let's do it.
最後の戦いの時、そこにいるのがケイチ君なのを期待してるね。
I'm gonna remember this sentence right here. I have a feeling this is a Chekhov's gun for the game at the end of the chapter.
おう。
We pounded our fists together again.
光線規定はちゃんと覚えてるね。
No, you'll probably have to explain it to me, but that's because I'm the ghost on the wall, or maybe I'm Oyashio-sama, watching. Because theoretically, that's technically possible. That the player is actually the curse itself.
被弾時の申請だけは正直にね。被弾した人は撃っちゃダメだよ。仮に当てても無効ね。
Okay. Okay, interesting. So they are kind of doing it like a tag out system.
ミオン、被弾の定義を再確認したいぜ。
Oh.
水鉄砲で撃たれたら被弾。
So.
ひねくれたケイちゃんのためにさらに補足するなら、
Okay.
水鉄砲というこの容器から出た水が最初に触れたものが標的であったとき被弾とするわけ。
Okay, so like you can't just spray him with a hose or something?
つまり水鉄砲を経由した水をバケツに溜めてぶっかけても無効ってわけ。
Weird that that's your example.
直接攻撃以外は有効じゃないってことだね。
Could you sabotage the guns?
さとこちゃんの脅威が少し薄らいだかな。トラップにもいろいろございましたよ。レナさんなんか一番最初に餌食にして差し上げましたよ。
Why the targeting?
それは無理。私を仕留めようとしたらさとこちゃんじゃまだまだ役不足だね。
That's some big words, Rena.
なんですって？
ほほほ。レナが売り言葉とはね。こりゃあ面白くなりそうだよ。
That does sound fun. I kind of want to do this myself now.
ねえケイちゃん。
大して面白くねえと思うぞ。俺かレナかどっちにやられたいかを選ばされるだけなんだからな。
ケイチもやる気満々なのです。
Mion seems to sense the fighting spirit in me and Rena. I could tell that she's as serious as we are. Just from the way she looks.
よっしゃ、いい面構えだよ。じゃあ始めるよ。全員3回。くじで決められた場所に移動してね。
Everybody had to draw lots to pick a place to start the game from. It wouldn't be fun if everyone was close together at the beginning of the game. By the way, my starting position was behind the school building. The pretty premium spot. When I drew the starting position, I thought about hiding until there were only a few people left. I did that in the last game of tag. But a defense tactic like that wasn't interesting to me anymore. Yeah, if I remember correctly, that game, He hides on the roof of the building. I hadn't been this excited in a long time. My legs are shaking with excitement. It was my first time experiencing that kind of feeling. I could hear Mion's countdown from some distance away.
3、2、
Each.
1。
A single shot of a toy pistol echoed. With that sound, I was already running around the building. There had to be some underclassmen nearby. I'd usually assumed that somebody else would take care of them, but this time it was different. I mean, if you're going for intimidation, that's a good idea, but you're also announcing where you are. I stood frozen in fear as I ran toward them, screaming at the top of my lungs. I took a moment to quickly decide whether to fight or run away, and in that moment, I shot one after another.
悪いな。俺の隣が当たった時点で運がなかったと思ってくれ。
I felt bad for them because they lost the game so quickly, so I rubbed their heads to cheer them up and took their water guns. Yeah, that was the key factor in this game. You can't pull very much water in a water gun. With 10 people around, you in a gun battle, the water could be gone in a minute. I abandoned the gun I used to shoot them, held onto their guns in each hand, and scoped out the schoolyard. That is a clever idea. Just like I expected, there was an intense battle happening there. In the short time it took for me to care for that area behind the school building, it seemed like most of my classmates were already shot. I wasn't surprised though, I kind of knew it happened. You need to have high skill to fight in an open schoolyard. Especially when most of the club members were there. It must have been like a battle of elephants and ants.
なんだミオンのあれは。
Mion was holding a different water gun from the one she had when the game started. She's now holding one that looked like a huge machine gun. You traitorous trickster! That's not fair! The range capability, the pump action shooting, and the amount of water it can hold are way beyond comparison. There's no restrictions on what kind of water guns we could use today. So this is basically a pay-to-win situation. As long as it's a water gun, we're allowed to use any kind. Most of us have normal pistol-style water guns from a local toy store or something similar. I would have bought a bigger one like Mion if they'd had one. But they weren't in stock, I'd have to order it in. In other words, Mion ordered hers a long time ago, just for today. She's always been prepared when it comes to winning. She must have thought that we wouldn't allow her to use the big water guns if she showed it off before the game started, so she must have hidden it somewhere. It looked like most of our classmates were shot right after the game started. Only a few were still alive, trying to survive as long as they could by using heavy construction equipment as a shield. Mion mercilessly shot them from various angles to make them come out from behind the shield.
そらそんなとこに隠れてないで出てきな。
Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun were trying their best to resist her attacks from behind their shield. It looked like they had no chance against her. But that actually wasn't true. After all, the two of them were only still alive because of all their experience in water gun battles. They survived a few first minutes of her assault, even though 99% of their classmates didn't, and they were still surviving at that very moment. Also, it may have a much bigger water capacity, but even the best water gun capacities I've seen, they don't last very long. If she's continuing to do suppressive fire, that's a very costly way to use your ammunition. They could try and just wait her out. The trouble is, though, they're vulnerable, so if somebody else decides to try and take advantage and just eliminate them easily, well, there's not much they can do about a flanking maneuver. Mion, however, is also a battle-hardened soldier. She used the advantage of her big water tank and gradually but certainly drove them into a corner. It was only a matter of time until she broke them down.
ダメだ。あのマシンガンはずるいよ。
Welcome to like freaking World War II, man.
委員長の水が少なくなるまでなんとかしのごう。今は手も足も出ないよ。
They tried to hold out against her, but all they could do for now is keep running behind cover as Mion strafed closer and closer to them. They wanted to see their 2-against-1 advantage, but it seems they wouldn't even get that chance. If they tried attacking recklessly, one of them might get shot and the other would have no chance of winning. So they grew more cautious, placing their bets on the final chance, but that caused their offense to wane. Oh, that's terrifying. Of course, Mion saw through their plan. She was purposely provoking them so they'd lose their patience and start attacking her recklessly. Mion circled around the construction equipment. Now she was standing with her back toward me. If I went up against her machine gun fairly square, I wouldn't stand a chance. So, attacking from behind would be the only way for me to defeat her. And he could claim her gun afterwards. But even though she was in a defenseless position, there was some distance between us. I was still too far away. But it would still be better to attack her now than take her head on. Don't hesitate, Keiichi. You won't have a chance again. I stepped out from my hiding place and ran as fast as I could toward her with the 2 water guns in my hands. Instead of approaching slowly and silently, I screamed at the top of my lungs. Again, I feel like he's wasting his opportunity. I mean, he still could have sprinted very fast and probably given himself away, but screaming just does it for sure. Mion seemed a little shocked by my surprise attack, but she immediately pulled herself together. She knew the advantages of her weapon. But she didn't shoot me just yet. She held back, luring me closer. Mion was well aware of how much water she had left. If she had the same kind of water gun as me, we would have had the same range capability. So it would have been down to our technique to decide the winner. If she was fighting against one of her underclassmen, she could defeat them easily. Mion immediately calculated her chance of winning against me and figured out that her only chance was to use the advantage of her water gun. She saw the eye of the tiger in me and recalculated her chances of winning in a split second. But this also could open up the door for the other two. They could just run away, but they might take the opportunity like Keiichi was trying to do and get her from behind. Really, I can admire how fast she does those things. I ran at top speed to shorten the distance between us. Our strengths should have been equal. I've had 2 water guns and a full tank, and she has a machine gun with a half-empty tank. We both waited for the perfect moment.
今日のケイちゃんの気迫には敬意を表するよ。
The big anime words you're saying there.
今日のあんたには正面からぶつかり合って互角以上の勝率を弾き出せる自信がない。
残念だぜミオン。勝率の弾き方も鈍ったな。今日の俺に正面からぶつかり合ったら互角どころじゃない。
Again, more anime moments.
てめえの負けだ。
The moment we step within range, Mion and I pull our triggers at the same time. Mion set her sights squarely on me while I was trying to shoot and run at the same time. Her shot would obviously be more accurate than mine. My shot with water flew toward nowhere. Mion didn't even need to duck. But Mion's shot made a beautiful arc straight toward my chest. I could see the line of water coming straight at me, but I was too unstable to dodge. Mion had no doubt that she got me.
気合だけではどうにもならない現実がこれだったね。やっぱりケイちゃんは最初に脱落だ。
やっぱり残念だぜミオン。
They don't have time to say this.
今日のミオンのコンピュータは一手読みが足りないぜ。
Baseball slide.
ほざくな。その体勢からかわす術はない。水の弾丸で撃ち抜かれろ。そしてどうして私の背後を沈黙して奪わず叫びながら襲う具を犯したかを呪うがいいよ。
You're really disappointing me today, Mion. You could have figured it out if you just spent one more second to think. Is this going to be a technicality where she's eliminated before like it hits me that it doesn't count? You could have figured out the reason I didn't creep up on you, but screamed as loud as I could instead. Mion noticed my surprise attack, turned to face me. In other words, she turned her back on the opponent she was fighting earlier. Those opponents heard my scream, saw she turned her back on them. Mion noticed her back was wet and cold. She finally understood that her underclassmen she was attacking just earlier had shown their fangs and attacked from behind. I blocked her water shot with my arm right before it hit my chest. The line of water was broken in droplets and splattered away.
そうだったか。被弾者の攻撃は被弾しても向こうだ。
そいつに気づくのだいぶ遅かったぜ。伏せろミオン。
He's gonna immediately go bam bam bam, take him out. Mion squatted down, covered her head. Now it's me versus Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun. Their reflexes weren't so bad. They knew that I'd be their next target after Mion was gone. They didn't feel sorry at all for attacking me right after I just saved them from their predicament. I can respect the cruelty of how quickly they shifted gears. They may one day be able to join our club if they keep refining their sense of skill.
次は前原さんだ。このまま撃ち殺すんだ。こっちは2人だもんね。負けるわけがない。
They were, however, one step behind me. It was already too late. For them, Mion was the first target and I was next. But I was different. The first target was them from the start. I didn't even see Mion as my target to begin with because I knew they'd take care of her. Oh, that's actually kind of brilliant. He shot at her, not to her. He shot where he expected they would be. I was pointing my guns at them long before they moved their sights from Mion to me. It seemed like they noticed at the last moment that both my guns had been pointed at them from the beginning, which meant it was already too late for them. I jumped over Mion, rolled on the ground, landed on my feet. I looked as elegant as an athlete who just finished a perfect performance. I had a gun in each of my hands, and with those guns I shot them each in the middle of their chests.
早すぎる。もう僕たちが二人がかりで負けるなんて。
I love the dramatic falls, which probably did happen, but you know, like in reality, like they wouldn't be super dramatic. Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun fell to their knees in disappointment.
ケイちゃんがこれだけのことをやってのけるなんて、私も鈍ったってことかな。
Thank you. Now 3 more to go. Mion wiped the dirt off her knees, looking frustrated.
別にミオンは鈍っちゃいなかったろ。
じゃあなんでおじさんが負けたわけよ。
そんなの決まってるじゃねえか。
I twirled my guns on the tips of my fingers.
たまには勝たねえと格好がつかねえからだよ。
Oh my gosh, Keiichi. There was only a few people left alive. Rena, Satoko, and myself. And Rena and Satoko were fighting fiercely. Were they evenly matched? No, Satoko was pushing her hard. Moving fast, she was driving Rena into a corner. Are we gonna pick up Mion's gun? That's fine. It has half a tank, but that's still a half of a very efficient tank. Rena was usually gentle and slow, but today she was different. She was very serious today, and yet Satoko was still overwhelming her. She's a tough customer even without her tricky traps.
最初の威勢はどこへ行ってしまいましたのかしら。いい動きをするね。私も負けられないよ。
There's still so many like anime dialogue, like monologue moments. It's hilarious. Satoko kept moving around, piling on pressure in order to pin Rena down. She kept shooting, so her tank must be almost empty, but her shots were still sharp and fast. I noticed a bucket near her feet, which was full of mini water guns. Oh, that's another freaking tricky trick. Like mini water guns, all of them full, so she can just go crazy with it. I understood. Seeing that, she must have been taking guns from others who were already out of the game. In this battle, reloading bullets, water was more crucial than actually shooting. The hole that you put the water into those guns is rather small. To put water through the faucet takes time and requires a certain amount of skill. In a battle like this, it would almost be suicidal. But pop the... I know exactly what toy guns they're talking about too. I'm sure we all grew up with them, right? But like you pop the back like nozzle and you just dunk it in the water and let the bubbles come out. And then she just pull them up. Oh, it's so... God, how is he making a water fight so epic feeling? I understood that well, so I'd been taking guns from people I defeated, but I could only hold one in each hand. Satoko used a bucket to overcome the limit. In fact, she even mentioned the bucket, right? Like, well, I don't know if we did, though. Somebody mentioned that a bucket doesn't count as getting somebody wet. Rena looked like she had only one water gun. I'd assumed she had 2 earlier, but she must have used a lot of water during her long battle with Satoko. It looked like she was trying to save water for the right moment, but with Satoko's fierce attacks, it was obvious that it was only a matter of time before Rena was driven into a corner. However, Rena is also quite skilled. She only pretended to be driven to a corner, but she was actually luring Satoko to a place where she'd have the advantage. There was a narrow, twisting path near the gymnasium warehouse behind the school building. With Rena's water levels running low, she'd want to turn things around with a single close-range shot. That narrow path was the perfect place for her to do that.
あれあれ、攻撃の手が鈍ってきたね。疲れてきた？お気遣いは嬉しいですけど、まだまだでしてよ。
Although if she's trying to like keep this bucket mobile, that is going to be a problem because water's freaking heavy.
それよりそちらのお水は大丈夫ですの？さっきから全然打ち返してきませんわよ。ひょっとしてもう玉切れじゃございませんの？そうだと思うならお顔を出してみたらどう？遠慮いたしましてよ。最後の一発を温存しているのは分かっていますわ。一発あれば十分だよ。体操服を濡らした気の毒だからね。死体を打ってあげるね。
I'll be considerate and get you with a headshot. No pain.
まさかレナさんとこんなにもスリリングなやりとりができるなんて思いませんでしたわ。でも最後の一発分の水量では大して勢いもないでしょうから、 射程もほとんどないんじゃありません？
Satoko was right about that. Rena had just enough water to make one last shot. And the amount of water left in the tank dwindles, the range of the shots you can fire shortens. And that makes the last shot the shortest and weakest of them all. Regardless of her absolute disadvantageous situation, Rena didn't look frustrated. I could tell she had no intention to lose. It was almost like she didn't even see Satoko as a threat.
うまい位置に逃げ込みましたわね。私もさすがに慎重にならざるを得ませんわ。
Satoko seemed to understand how dangerous Rena's last shot was going to be better than I did, since she was the only one actually firing against her.
私、将棋はあまりやらないんですけれど、こういうのを詰将棋って言うんでございましょうね。
I heard that. She said shogi, not chess. Which, by the way, I want to learn because it sounds like chess but cooler. Satoko took out another gun with a full tank and shortened the distance between them slowly and carefully. A gun with a full tank doesn't only have long range, it also has enough power to make shots more accurate. If they shot at each other in a frontal attack, Satoko would have a 99% chance to win. Even so, Satoko was still afraid of Rena's last shot. Satoko shortened the distance even further, smiling as if unafraid, but I could tell she was actually full of fear. Satoko compared the situation to chess earlier, but it wasn't exactly the same. In chess, you can use some pieces to drive the opponent king into a corner, but in this case, there was only Rena and Satoko. You can only lose some of your pieces in order to achieve a win, but Satoko doesn't have any pieces other than herself. A king can't drive the other king into a corner alone. That's called a stalemate. That's why, while at first glance it looked like Satoko had the absolute advantage, they're actually on equal footing.
さあ参りますわよ。このままチャイムを待つなんて私たちらしくありませんわ。そうだね。勝負しよう。
That's strange. I thought Rena wouldn't have to move just on a dare from Satoko. What kind of plan did she have? Rena had been hiding behind cover for a while, but she came out without hesitation. I noticed something right away. Rena had a different gun. Satoko seemed to notice it as well.
ここには弾切れになったら逃げ込もうと考えててね。あらかじめ一丁拾って隠してあったの。
Dang, she's good. And using a trap in the last moment to come from behind victory, it was as though she was taking Satoko's best skill from her and firing it right back. Satoko no longer had any advantages now that both of them were pointed their guns at each other with full tanks. But she still looked confident. What was going on? Did she have some kind of plan too?
その一丁は私にとっても大切な一丁でしたのよ。
Uh-oh.
どうしてかな。だってその一丁がなかったらレナさんはさっきの銃のまま一撃逆転を狙い続けてこうして私の前に姿を現したりしませんもの。
At that moment, lightning ran through my brain as I instantly understood the situation. Of course. Rena was in a disadvantaged situation earlier, but it was actually the same for Satoko since she didn't have a chance to make her shot while Rena was in hiding. Rena had remained cautious in order to hit her with her last shot, and that made it difficult for Satoko to attack her. However, what if Rena didn't need to take the last shot for her come from behind victory? No, I said I was wrong. What if Rena got a new gun with a full tank? She's hiding and coming out to fight against Satoko. She stopped hiding and come to fight out against Satoko.
つまりレナさんがここを目指しながら逃げてその銃を拾うことは最初から読んでいましたってことですよ。
I kind of don't like they're doing like the whole creepy music in the background because first of all it doesn't match the vibe at all, and I feel like it's kind of cheapening it because it makes better sense at other times. Let Satoko talk crap, Rena. You don't have to listen to her. Just shoot her right now. Rena thought the same thing. She shot at Satoko without any hesitation. But she frowned in confusion a moment after. Sabotage! What's going on? She couldn't shoot. What, was her water gun broken? Or did someone break it?
水鉄砲なんてちょっと砂粒を入れて空打ちすればすぐに詰まっちゃうんですのよ。
You know, I didn't know that, but it makes sense because sand would block the nozzle. And you pull, but it's light enough to get pulled in when you pull it.
私が切り札をここに一丁持ってることを先に読んで細工したってわけだね。私いつも言ってましたよ。トラップは最後の最後でほんの一つささやかに。
Yeah, I feel like the creepy music is still going and it shouldn't be. Like, does that seem like a glitch to anyone else?
これが究極の美徳でございましたよ。
When it comes to traps, Satoko remained a notch above Rena after all. I couldn't believe Satoko figured out Rena's plan in advance and set a trap to counter it. Rena, you made a big mistake. You should have kept the old gun with you. You could have at least made that last shot. But it's too late now for you to pick it up again. Rena was in a worse situation than she was before. She couldn't even take another shot.
さーて観念なさいませ。さっきレナさんは私の額を打つとか言われましたわね。私が逆に額を打って差し上げましたよ。
Satoko slowly narrowed the distance again, pointing the muzzle at Rena's forehead. Rena still didn't look like she'd given up. She still thought the game was undecided.
さとこちゃんもまだまだ甘いね。なんですって？
Does she still have the first gun?
トラップで相手を仕留めたならね。さとこちゃんが余裕を見せるのは勝者の権利だと思う。だけどね、今のさとこちゃんは私を絡め取っただけで仕留めたわけじゃない。
Laudable, very good perspective to have.
余裕を見せるのはまだまだ早い段階だとは思わない？何を言い出すかと思えば、今から仕留めるから同じことですわ。私が逆の立場なら脳書きなんか言わずにさっさと撃つ。
Just take the shot, huh?
じゃないと負けるから。負ける？誰が？あら、その壊れた水鉄砲でどうやって戦うおつもりで？被弾の定義覚えてる？
Wait, is the rule that water has to come from the gun? Does that mean she could just like pop the back and just like throw like the water out the back?
水鉄砲というこの容器から出た水が最初に触れたものが標的であったとき。
That's technically it. Oh, that's actually pretty good.
は？それが一体何だって言うんですの？
When I heard what she was saying, I started running. My target was Rena. Satoko was already dead to me. Why? She's going to be shot by Rena within a second.
レナさんが何を言ってるのか私さっぱりでしたよ。
You're also forgetting Rika? Like, she's still out there, right? She's probably going to win because you haven't thought about her.
その壊れた水鉄砲で何ができるおつもりだか。水鉄砲の中に水があれば戦えるんだよ。わかんないかな？
Rena raised her broken water gun up high and smashed the handle of the wall of the school building as hard as she could. The plastic broke easily and water flowed out of it.
水鉄砲から出た水が当たればいいんだよ。水鉄砲のどこから出たかは問題にしてない。
Rena was right. She just saved herself by thinking it through. If she was using a real gun, bullets would only come out from the one end of the gun. But this was a water gun. She could make her bullets, water in this case, come from any place, not just the barrel of the gun. Satoko finally realized that she was standing defenselessly in front of Rena. Satoko's trap was successful, but she overestimated its effect. She should have just shot Rena without hesitation before Rena noticed her new water gun was jammed. Oh, hubris. And it was like a double hubris. She was going to fail because she'd grown overconfident in her victory. A second before Satoko pulled the trigger, Rena swung her water gun as if slashing Satoko with a sword. Satoko fired her bullets, but it was too late. A second before Rena would get shot down, a blade of water hit Satoko in the face. No, not hit. It cut her face open.
まだまだ爪が甘かったね。この私が。
Rena ran towards Satoko, who was standing still in shock with her water gun. Rena knew I was her last target and that I was running toward her. Rena, using her superior mobility, began to duck and weave. We were evenly matched. Neither of us neglected to make our effort possible to take advantage of the situation. I'm telling you, Rika's gonna come in and take it from both of
最後
you.
には一騎打ちになると思ってたよ。やっぱりこうでなくっちゃね。
見直したぜ。とんでもない根性を見せてくれるじゃないか。
Oh, look at
見
that.
直したより惚れ直したの方が嬉しいかな。
Wait, first of all, we have to dissect what that was. But this also, like, dang, this chapter has two fantastic, like, thumbnail options. Like, look at this. This looks so good. Also, but though, look at this. Rather than a new light like you see me in a romantic way. Is she just trying to mess with him, though? I like that. That's fun.
負けてくれたらそれでもいいぜ。
Aww.
ごめんだね。
We circled around the construction equipment, trying to take shots at each other. We were both sweating like crazy. But I didn't feel tired. Big drops of sweat tickled as they ran down my body. Rapid bursts of water flew across both our paths. Neither of us had the advantage or disadvantage. I didn't feel elated that I might win or frustrated I might lose. I was just enjoying the battle with Rena. It was like a dance. A dance that I couldn't dance alone. A dance that I could only dance with an opponent.
本気のレナはやっぱり冴えるね。見てるだけで震えが来るよ。
そのレナさんと互角に渡り合うなんてケイチさんもやりますわね。どちらが勝つか全然予想がつきませんです。
Hey, now you're standing here, Rika, like you've taken it out, but I didn't hear no bell from you. In fact, none of the observers could tell who was going to win. Neither could we. We had no idea who was going to win. We had no idea when this battle would end. I didn't know why, but it was getting great fun just to fight against Rena, and I didn't even care if I won or lost. In fact, I never even wanted it to end. As we fired at each other, both our tanks emptied, shortening our range. Inevitably, it became more and more like a melee than a gun battle. We fired our water guns as if trying to cut each other off with blades of water, swinging the guns like a sword. We both came up with the idea of swinging the gun hard to generate centrifugal force in order to increase the range of our attacks. I wonder if that would actually work. I can understand the logic of it, but like usually like the majority of it's like from the compression of the pulling the trigger. Would you actually fling it out faster by also swinging it through the air? I dived to duck her shot. I rolled on the ground, landed on my feet, ducked her shot again, swung my gun like a sword. Who could have imagined that our club's water gun battle would turn into a one-on-one close combat like this? Absolutely no one.
ああ、やっぱりレナもそう思うか。
じゃあケイチ君もそう思うんだ。
We were both breathing hard, calculating the timing needed to take a closer step. And then we both grinned wickedly at each other.
やり合うのが楽しくてならねえぜ。決着がつくことすら興ざめ。
負けても恨まないでね。
ああ、恨まない。この勝負を終わらせた自分の不甲斐なさを恨んでやるぜ。だがそいつを恨むのはどうやらレナの方になりそうだな。
Oh my gosh, you guys. You get a room!
どうかなケイチ君、足が藁だよ。
くそったれー。あれー。
すごい。なんだかものすごくかっこいい。前原さん、頑張れー。龍河さん、しっかりー。
I became relaxed enough to enjoy the battle and finally realized many of our classmates were watching our one-on-one fight. I barely had any water left. I would have to make the next shot count or I was done for. It seemed Rena was in the same situation too.
泣いても笑っても次水が有限なのが惜しいぜ。
限りがあるから美しい。花も一緒だよ。
Flowers are beautiful because they wither.
なるほどな。そういう見方もあるか。
本当に楽しかった。でもこれで終わりだね。
だな、無粋かもしれんが勝って決着させてもらうぜ。
Tie, tie, tie.
上等だよケイチ君。
負けて泣くなよ。
勝負。
乗ったー。うわー。
どっちが勝ったんですの？
The cries of the cicadas echoed in the quiet schoolyard. They sounded like a hand of the watch ticking away the seconds. Neither one of us moved. We took our final shots and now stood motionless. It looked like one of those duels in the Western movies.
どっちが先に？わかんない。全然見えなかった。
Whoever got hit first be the bigger person and collapsed on the ground as if he'd been finished. Our classmates broke the silence first. They finally realized that our intensely beautiful one-on-one battle was over.
委員長、判定は？
Mion in turn realized that she had to deliver the verdict to end the game. But she was just as stunned as the others and it took her a moment to recover. Mion was taking time to render her verdict. In fact, Rena and I didn't know who'd won either. My last shot flew fast and splashed sideways as if the blade had cut her chest. I knew that for sure. But at the same moment, Rena's shot hit me in the shoulder. Whoever shot the other first wins. But we didn't know if it was me or her. That's why we stood motionless, waiting for the verdict to be delivered.
リカには見えまして？僕にだってわかるわけないのです。
委員長、 どっちの勝ちなの?
And if she doesn't know, she's just gonna have to guess. Everybody held their breath, waiting for Mion to call it. Rena and I kept staring at each other. The spectators were the only ones who were interested in who the winner was. To us, it wasn't that important. We had a great battle. We both really wanted to do better than the other. We both wanted to call it a tie. For the great battle, settling for a tie would be the best and most proper option. In other words, this one-on-one fight wasn't a battle to decide the winner. It seemed like everybody's thinking the same way.
みー、判定が出ないと二人とも動けませんです。
Mion hates to settle for a tie because she loves to draw a line between superiors and inferiors. She tends to settle for a tie when deciding who's the loser because it's more fun to have as many people as possible suffer the punishment, but she's never settled for a tie between winners before. Mion holds a special feeling towards the meaning of being number one. Yeah, I bet you do. Basically the definition of your freaking life. Everybody continued holding their breath, awaiting her verdict. Please make it a tie. Everybody wished for that in their hearts. Mion was hesitating to make the decision. She could have chosen a winner more easily if one of us did even a little bit better than the other. But even if one of us did a little better than the other, it feels like nothing fits better than settling for a tie.
今日の二人は見事だったよ。
You gonna ask for a rematch? Mion finally started speaking.
ケイちゃんもレナもここしばらくの連敗に発奮し最高の力を発揮してくれた。その瞬発力は評価の高低の段階を超えてもはや美しいと呼べるまでに昇華されてたよ。私は二人の最高の戦いぶりに評価を惜しめない。
じゃあ決着はどうなるんですの？
快速の精神から1位を二人に認定するのは好ましくない。
At least Keiichi's like accurate.
でも二人にはわずかの優劣もなくどちらを膠着よって本日の戦いを預かり勝負とし
There we go.
後日改めて決着をつけることといたしたい。
Alright. Expected she might settle for a tie, but never thought she'd make us have another battle.
灰原さん、すごかったですよ。かっこよすぎます。竜宮さんにもしびれました。なんかこう、まあ見てるこっちまで熱くなるというか。
Please not literally. The classmates rushed toward us and praised us for showing them something that cool. Rena and I were finally released from the tension of the battle and I dropped to our knees.
残念。決着をつけ損なったね。
まあな、次の機会を楽しみにしようぜ。
肩を貸してほしいな。
先に言うな。俺が借りようと思ったのに。
Handshake. To finish it off, we both smiled at each other. It was the first time we ever hit it off like this.
それはそうと。
うまいことやったよな。
うまいことって何がですの？
Oh, by declaring a rematch, is it going to be like the last time she did this, where she declares a rematch, but everyone gets to participate, so it basically invalidates the entire test. It thus also means that there's no punishment.
みーちゃん、うまいこと言って今日の罰ゲームうやむやにする気だ。
ギク。
かっこつけときながら保身第一ってあたりがミオンっぽい。逃げたぞ。図星かよ。わかりやすいやつだな。
I would point out to her that she did technically lose, and all the losers still have to be punished. We're just trying to figure out who the last person to get punished would be, which is between me and Rena. So, yeah. Mion! You need to get back here. The bell rang to signify class was over while we all laughed at Mion. After that,
二人ともお疲れ様なのです。タオルをどうぞなのです。
Rika-chan held out a towel, a big smile on her face. However, Rena and I stepped back and pointed our water guns at her.
みー。
I knew it!
もうみんなにいっぱいいっぱい撃たれましたのです。
Can we trust you?
もう撃たれてると言っても誰も信じてくれないのですよ。
Rika-chan was soaking wet. Well, nobody believed her because she really could be that sneaky, pretending that she was hit in order to stay in the game.
普段が普段でございますものね。信じろというのが難しい相談でございましてよ。
Yeah, that's the understatement. Basically the theme of the entire game, it turns out.
みー。
You stop the meeping.
みんながいじめるのです。僕はもう一人ぼっちなのです。段ボール箱の中でミーミー泣いて、誰も拾ってくれないかわいそうな猫さんなのですよ。みー。
Boom. There she is. The sound came from Rena's head. I saw a circle of smoke coming out of it. Rena must have pictured Rika-chan meowing like a cat in a cardboard box.
リカちゃん捨ててあるよ、捨ててある。レナが拾うよ。お持ち帰り。
Ouch. Meep beep. Boom. Rena, you're ruining how cool we looked earlier. Rena was back to her normal self and jumped on Rika-chan like a chameleon capturing its prey. Chameleons don't jump on them; they do the tongue thing. Okay, whatever. Rika-chan struggled to get away.
はーい、皆さん早く教室に戻りなさい。
Chie-sensei clapped her hands and yelled at us from the window of the teacher's office.
行こうぜみんな。
Everyone exchanged smiles and ran back to the classroom. Good. I was about to say, I'm going to end here soon, but that's like the perfect place for it to end. I'm guessing it might be the end of the chapter, but if not, it'll be just a good cutoff point. Okay, it is the end. But man, that's a good way to jump back into it. Just a good old-fashioned, just happy, fun game times. Man, it's almost refreshing to come back to it after so long. And I say that because there really wasn't that much at all in the last chapter. All right, let's see the tip. Pleasant weather. One reason I like my house is because it has good ventilation. As long as there's a nice breeze, I don't have to rely on a fan to keep me cool. I can take down my futon from the windowsill, place it on the cushion near the open window, and can enjoy a cool breeze of the evening. According to my page-a-day calendar, it's June 1983 today. While it was still June, it seemed like summer skipped a rainy season and was already coming around the corner. This was very abnormal, apparently. Even if it was abnormal weather, it only comes around once in 100 years. It was supposed to come in If it was supposed to come in June 1983, then it wasn't too much of a big deal. Oh, interesting. So if the weather being this hot this time of the year is unusual, I wonder if that is something that might contribute to what leads to the gas leak, like the fumes coming down into the valley. Because I mean, if it's a very unusual amount of heat at this time of the year, maybe that's part of it. It was inevitable. On the other hand, a sudden evening shower on the way home from school was more unpredictable than anything else. Every day had been in perfect harmony, as if it was all carefully planned. I felt like something good was going to happen this year. How should I put it? It's like a feeling I got when I rolled a 6 on the first throw of a board game and started off with a huge lead. When it comes to the die, the more you roll it, the more your total average is out. We actually roll a die many times each day of our lives. So it's not like one stroke of luck is really a big deal to be overly happy with. If I roll a 6 on my first throw and a 1 on my next throw, it's a total of 7. If you believe in fate, you might say there's a higher possibility of 1 coming up on the die, but you can never actually tell what number you will roll. That's what fate is all about. You might roll a 6 again. The chance of you rolling a 6 twice in a row is 1 out of 36, but if you do look at each throw one by one, there's only a 1/6 the chance of that miracle. Yeah, that's actually the way you're supposed to do that. Like, if you're trying to, 1 out of 36 is how many times you will roll the dice twice and get 6 both times. But if you roll the dice once and get a 6, the next time you roll that die, it's still 1 out of 6 of whether you'll get a 6 or not. Statistics can be a little wonky if you, phrase it in different ways. It, is seemingly changed, but it's not. The glass wind chime Satoko put up yesterday is making a refreshing sound. So who was that speaking? Because it's it said Satoko put up, so could that be Rika? Because if so, that's interesting. Okay. Well, let's be happy with that. That was fun. That was just a good time. Water gun fight, epically described, back into the swing of things where pre-Watanagashi everything's actually kind of fun and interesting, and Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, this has been a good, nice breath of fresh air. Let's see how this continues on and when the horror starts creeping in. The implications of the title screen was that it might take longer than usual for the horror to creep in. So we'll have to see. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I certainly did. Thank you so much for being here as always. It's a pleasure having you here. And until the next video you're watching me up, see me in next. I'll see you there.